This video is sponsored by Loot Crate.
So as an overall season, I wasn't really digging Rebels, but for that finale. Hey guys, welcome to my Geek Talk. Today, let's discuss Season 2 of Rebels. This is going to be a complete review of the entire season. I will be talking about spoilers, and I will be talking about the finale at the end. If you're just here for the finale review, you can skip to whatever time code I'm going to put on the screen or time code in the description box if you want to go straight there. So as I said before, the finale was great. But I don't feel like the season itself was that great. And I think it really has to do with the filler. As some of you have already said, I've said it myself, this season feels like a lot of filler. Filler in and of itself is not bad, but it really relies on you really enjoying the story and, more importantly, the characters. And while I do like the characters, that's actually probably my favorite part of this series is the dynamic between the crew and the family unit that it feels like. I wasn't really a fan of the plot of some of these filler episodes. And it had me thinking, I recently, right now I'm watching a show called Better Call Saul, and that has a lot of filler in it too, but I find myself enjoying that because I'm more invested in just those little stories and things like that. So really, filler's okay, but the creators of that show have to be sure that the audience is cool with that filler. And for some people enjoy the filler of this season. They actually enjoy it more than season 1. It just didn't hit home for me. Now, that's not to say I didn't like some stuff from this season. Like, for instance, I really loved the dynamic between Agent Callus and Zeb. That was an awesome episode. Some of the stuff like the call and Ezra's connection to those beasts, I forget the names of them, the space beasts. That was pretty cool. Of course, the Shroud of Darkness episode where Ahsoka comes to terms with Vader and Anakin and all that business. That was cool. But stuff like that just didn't come as frequently as I would have liked. And ultimately, I feel like this season, for me, was weaker, and I didn't really watch through all of the entire season. I actually skipped through a few episodes. I did go back and watch the ones that I did miss yesterday to catch up for the finale, but throughout the season, I started being let me just check out, or sometimes I'm I don't really want to watch the episode. I'm not gonna watch it. So yeah, that's just my feelings. Again, this is just my review, my thoughts. You might have a different opinion. In fact, if you do, please leave it in the comments. But let's go straight to the finale, straight into spoilers, talk about the big stuff. Of course, we have the Ahsoka Vader confrontation coming. I loved it just from the foundation of the emotion and the character beats. Loved it. There were some things I had nitpicks about, like for instance, when Ahsoka cuts Vader's mask and we see Anakin underneath, I felt that he was a little bit he looked too human. When we see him in Return of the Jedi, he's, freaking pale because, Vader and Sith, they become degraded, they become pale and that kind of things. And then he also had his eyebrows still, that should have been burnt off. He didn't really look burnt, underneath the mask, he didn't look burnt. So that's just a really small quibble. That's not that big of an issue. They got the part that needs to be right, and that was their confrontation and having to deal with that conflict. And I thought they did it really well. The fight scene itself was okay. I liked how they stylized it. They had Vader being this very strong brick wall, which is what he should be. He had very close guard to his chest. You had Ahsoka jumping over him and trying to whittle him down, but she couldn't. Vader was breaking her down just by his superior strength. And I think that was great. The way they dealt with that, the fight scene, splendid. And then the character beats underneath that were perfect as well. I also liked how Vader straight up says to her, you shouldn't want to avenge, she says she wants to avenge Anakin because, Vader says he destroys Anakin. They're still talking in the third person to Anakin just to keep, that thing about Star Wars. Vader says, why you can't avenge Anakin because you're a Jedi, that's not the Jedi way. She's like, I'm not a Jedi. And I like that she says, she left the order not just because of them accusing her, but just that she was not, vibing with the Jedi anymore. And I liked how she is really embracing that and is I'm not a Jedi, so I can kill you if I want to, which is great. I like that gray Jedi aspect. I didn't like the very end of the show because they left it a little bit too ambiguous to if she survived or not. I personally think she survived. Obviously, if they were going to have a send-off for Ahsoka, you would have seen her death, you would have seen the betrayal and that kind of thing. And I was kind of hoping that would be the case for this episode. I do understand that it probably would have been too fast. We didn't have enough time with Ahsoka to really, give her that moment. But since they were going to have that moment, that confrontation, I think they should have gone there and really we should have seen Ahsoka pass on and become one with the Force. At least definitively, because even if, let's say she is dead and that was it, we didn't really get to see her, like, her passing. We just get like a kind of like oh, the temple blew up and we see Vader escape, but we don't see her. There is a little sequence, like with the flying thing, you do see like a little white thing with her, what I think is Ahsoka going into a door, but I don't know. But again, that also I didn't really vibe with that. But of course, we had Darth Maul in this episode, like fully. He was playing like the Yoda thing where he was acting weak. Although I do think that he actually was weak, but he was just putting on extra about how weak he was. And he even, like, at one point recites the Sith code to Ezra, not word for word, but he does, like, you know, talk about power, emotion, your chains being set free when you're using the dark side. And I like that. Oh my God, like Ezra's storyline going to the dark side, I think is going to be my most favorite aspect of season 3, because sometimes I really do feel for Darksiders and them wanting to do what they want to do. Like, there was a point where Maul was fighting for the affections, or, like, you know, just the good favor of Ezra with Kanan. And at one point Ezra says, like, Maul believes in me, he believes in my power, he sees it, he wants me to, like, to use it. Obviously Maul wants him to do it for other reasons, but still, like, I can understand where someone like that comes from, where they want to be appreciated for their talents and they're kind of being held back. That's a lot of what Anakin felt the Jedi were doing to him, and what Obi-Wan was doing to him, is that they were holding him back. And, you know, I'm not saying that that's the right thing to do, you know, the kinds of things that Sith do, but I can sympathize with someone wanting that and wanting to do that. So I like that aspect a lot, and I like the final shot of Ezra, where they had like the little glint of the Sith holocron in his eyes, so his eyes were red for a second, and him opening the Sith holocron, because as Maul said, a Sith, or someone who thinks like a Sith, can open a Sith holocron. So that's a big moment for him to open that thing up, because it really shows how messed up and how torn Ezra is right now, and how much he needs. And also, I gotta talk about the Kanan bit with Maul, and how basically Maul just offs all the Inquisitors in this show, which is kind of crazy. It was kind of cool too. But it seems like, I'm pretty sure they're doing this intentionally, especially since Sam Witwer is Galen Merrick / Starkiller from the Force Unleashed. They have him blind Kanan, which means, like, I'm not saying that he's Coda, but it really alludes to him being Coda. And that's basically like, because Starkiller in the game blinds Coda, and Maul, who is voiced by Sam Witwer, who plays like Starkiller, like, you know, there's all this stuff, but it was cool. I like that aspect. I like how Kanan, again, like he did last season, he kind of falls into the Force and doesn't win. I mean, he does win, and he kind of like just throws him off the platform, but at least he's able to contend, and I like that a lot. And I hope that this means that he can expand on his Force powers later on in the season, or later on in the series, because, you know, he's forced to. And usually that's the best thing to happen to some Force users, is that if you cut off one of their physical things, they have to be a better Force user and have more trust in the Force. Kind of like with Vader, in the same way that he got all his limbs chopped off, he became a better Force user. Like, he's not as powerful of a Force user in terms of potential, but he is more refined because of his disabilities. And I don't know, like, I like that kind of stuff. I like when people lose an aspect of themselves and potentially become more powerful and more refined because of it. I think that's pretty much it. Some other things I guess I didn't mention earlier, the Concord Dawn episode I was looking forward to, but I was kind of disappointed in, because I wanted to see more about the Mandalorians and all that stuff, and I didn't really feel that was as good as it could have been. The Princess Leia episode I wasn't really jiving with. Like, I get that they were, you know, trying to expand on it. And also, I feel like a big part, or a big gripe that I have with this series, is that it harkens back too much to the Clone Wars. Like, it's too much a Clone Wars sequel. That is sometimes where I enjoy that, but then sometimes where I feel like it's too forced and it feels like too much. Probably my favorite episode, besides like the Jedi episodes, Shadow of Darkness, Twilight of the Apprentice, Future of the Force, all that stuff, would probably be the Callus and Zeb episode. Like, that was like kind of like the dark horse, came out of nowhere episode for me, and I like that one a whole lot. It brings a whole new outlook on the Empire and Callus himself and Zeb, and yeah, it was good. It was a really good episode, I think, for me. That was probably my favorite episode, besides like the obvious ones. But that's it. I just wanted to get my thoughts out about this real quick. Just get it out there, get it out of my head and onto a camera, onto the internet, all that stuff. I will be on, right now I'm not sure for sure, But I should be on Blind Wave. They're going to be doing a Q&A for Rebels Season 2. So I should be on that channel, so check that out when you can. If you're not subscribed to Blind Wave, they're an awesome reaction channel. Probably one of my favorite reaction channels. And I'm not saying that just because I know them, but really, legitimately, I think they do some of the best reactions on YouTube of all the reactors who are out there on YouTube. But that is it, guys. Peace, love, and may the Force be with you. Always.
Luke's open and calm mind allowed for a more adaptable fighting style, while Anakin's reliance on talent and aggression was a bit more rigid.
No, why are you mowing your lawn right now? I'm recording a Let's Play.